Hi, everybody. Good evening. Sorry we're a bit late, but we're here. That's what it counts. Thank you very much for joining Real Talk with Shuvo today. And I have an exciting guest today, and he is well known in not only in the marketing and sales fraternity, also in the cycling fraternity, the health fraternity. So he has transformed so many people's life through his own work. And cycling can be so vital, and how to create a healthy nation. That's the mission this gentleman is in right now. So without further ado, let me just quickly introduce the gentleman. You have already met him. Hi, Yasas. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, sure. Pleasure to
Awesome.
be with
Awesome.
you.
Great. Great. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just give a quick introduction of this lovely gentleman. So, now he has started his journey in corporate world, and he has worked in multinational companies and local, all the leading another leading bank, and he has served as the assistant vice president of strategy and sales as a strategy and sales manager. And after that, he realized that this is he wants to become his own boss, and he wants to create something meaningful, right? And that's how he started. He became a serial entrepreneur, and so he's the founder of Skill Salad. Skill Salad. So he's the sales coach for their organization, which has been operating from 2014, and he has been a managing director of Strategy College for last 10 years. And then, of course, he owns the franchise of Ironman for 70.30 Colombo. And of course, the founder of Spinner Cafe, which is actually very near my house. I love going to that restaurant, and I love the sandwiches there. I highly recommend that. Now, apart from that, he has he has been he owns his own academy in marketing and sales, which is that he's the co-founder of Daffodil Academy of Business and Marketing and Digital. And of course, he is Spinex Sales Academy, which is well renowned in Sri Lanka. One thing, apart from that introduction, what I love about Yasas is he's very real. And all of you know that when we invite somebody in our program, yeah, I mean, all the guests has been very real. And for when it comes to Yasas, he's as real as he gets, right? And what he wants to do is he's with through competitive cycling to stay sharp with a vision to make Sri Lanka active, healthy, and competitive. I simply love that introduction. Yasas, really, I welcome you, and we are really looking forward to this session because I know when it comes to sales, there is nobody else, who can share the way you engage with the audience and the way you make the audience learn in a very unique way. I simply love it. So welcome to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. And so my first question is going back to the topic. So what's the difference between telling and selling?
Yeah, so if you take it very simply, first of all, that was a very long introduction. Thank you, sure. It was nice to listen to myself after some time. But surely a lot needs to be updated on that, which also includes the
Right.
fact that Spinner Cafe, I just gave it out on rent today. So I don't own the cafe anymore. It's a big decision post-COVID. I've encouraged everybody to lighten up, and I've taken my own decision, something
Right.
really passionate to me. But then it's going to be given to another exciting entrepreneur who's going to put Japanese food there so that I could focus on my cycling part of Spinner. So you got to change that for sure. That's what COVID has taught us. One thing that won't change is if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're a mother or a father, if you're for that matter anyone, you got to learn to sell. And a lot of people take a lot of time to figure out that they are all the time selling something. And when you do that, you start appreciating that to be part and parcel of your skill set. So telling is basically you go on rambling. There is a misnomer that sales is all about talking, whereas the true sales is about actually listening rather than talking. Because end of the day, what you mean by selling is helping finding a solution for somebody together. So in that process, if you're only going to talk and talk and talk, well, that's called talking, and that's probably what you're born with. But that doesn't become a competency until you learn how to listen and solve a problem. So this is a fundamental difference. So if you ask me, Yasas, tell me about Snipex, and I kept on telling you, Snipex is this great sales academy. We provide sales training for young executives, middle managers, CEOs, and our programs include X, Y, and Z. And we will give you this solution, that solution. We have package X, Y, and Z. Well, that's called telling, and that's called feature telling, and that's called just talking. At a point, you become a total rumbling. And historically, we thought that was what selling was all about. But today, I think anyone who has a bit of intellect and a bit of common sense understand your job is to improve somebody else's life with the product or service that you have and an idea that you have. And that requires a lot of listening, honest, true listening, honest, true conversation, and trying to find a solution. So this is the fundamental difference. And this also helps anyone who thought sales was about sleazy talk, this whole high-flying outlook. Well, it's exactly the opposite. You got to be a very high on emotional intelligence and a listener. That basically becomes the fundamental difference in telling versus selling.
Great. Thank you so much for that nicely. Actually, it's so true. When we think of selling, we think we have to just talk about it, and things are going to happen. But we hardly think about what to listen, what the client wants, and rather than being interested, we become interesting. Thank you so much for that. So my next question is, okay, personal selling, is it tough? I mean, so is it a fact or myth?
Personal selling is tough. It's for people who are ready to be real in front of a real person, understand somebody's real business or personal requirements. Video, edit it 3 times, 4 times, delete if you don't like, and post the exact thing that you want, and get your likes and shares and get somebody to call you. But when you're in front of someone, you got to be true and real, and that's not easy. Second thing is, if you are in front of someone, you have a lot of background work to do, research work to do. Let's say you are in the business of selling software and you want to meet a bank. I mean, you got to understand the banking industry, not from what it was yesterday, but exactly what that industry is about today. So you got to read up, you got to be current, you got to do your research about who are the decision makers, what are their pain points. I mean, that's a lot of work. And yes, it's tough. It's not for anyone who's looking for shortcuts. But then the ones who appreciate the fact that they are in sales, which includes a CEO, who is the chief sales officer, all the way right down to a call center agent who is probably answering an inquiry, but they're actually selling their company's profile and their company's image in that discussion. They are building that, they're selling. So you got to be really committed if you are to be in front of another person and actually talk real business and come to sensible win-win solution. And through that conversation, sometimes it's 1,000 rupees, sometimes it's $1 million of a transaction could happen. So it's not for kids, it's for people who are ready for the real deal. So yeah, you're right. Gone are the days the lowest tier of your organization workforce ends up in sales. That's not going to work.
Thank you so for that. Yes. So so today actually we are using a new software, so we're just still getting used to it. But yes, Yasas, you're so right. Personal selling is tough. It's not. But then again, I believe since it's tough, I believe the reward is also bigger. Am I correct?
I totally agree. I mean,
Since personal selling.
I totally agree. I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
It's a decision to take whether you want to be in that front line of the business or do you want to be the back end of the business. By the way, both are important roles, but you always know even in a war is the front line who would finally bring that victory or glory. They are also the ones who will take the bullets. They will always have the highest pressure to deliver. So it's a conscious call that you have to take. Now, the ones who take it are the ones with big dreams, the ones who want to be in control, the ones who want to be in the driving seat. If your company is a bus, there's only one driving seat, and generally it's somebody who wants to drive business who will take that seat. So everybody else's life depends on that driver. So it's got its challenges, and it's obviously rewarding because it's a role that's going to make you feel good because you are solving real problems. You are, example, in my life, when I was in the business of selling banking products, I always thought a loan that I would give somebody is a loan that they're going to buy a beautiful car and it's going to get their family to go on it'll improve their life. If it's a housing loan, yes, you achieve your targets. Yes, you build your balance sheet. Yes, it's going to give you a bonus or an incentive. But finally, it's a beautiful house, a dream, and you become friends for life, and those relationships are forever. So it's amazingly rewarding to be in the real deal in the front. But you have to have the DNA to be somebody who's achievement driven, who's got a sense of drive. And that's, I think, another question that's going to come later. And given the choice, I'll always recommend anyone, especially in the first part of their career, to get to a true sales job, to really code yourself to be a CEO in the future, because every CEO finally would be accountable for delivering revenue, cost, and profit. So that's how we code ourselves as frontline salespeople when you start our careers. And obviously, you will sell all of your life, right to the point, maybe, I don't know, you go out and achieve self-actualization. If you're in business, you're in sales. So absolutely rewarding. Love it.
Sure. Brilliant. Yes. And I love the fact, the way you are talking about that, okay, giving a loan means you're actually empowering that family. You know, how many of us, we think like that? Most of us, we think, okay, we just do a sales and make some quick buck, and that doesn't work in the long run. And which is so true. So just a personal question, in Sri Lankan context, when you say that I'm into sales, and we say sales, the word sales itself creates a lot of negative connotation, right? So how to change that? I would really like to know that. How to change that negative connotation around that word sales or salesman.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, I've grappled with this problem in my corporate life. I've never had that problem. I was basically built and brought up in a background where I was open to my career choices and I had an independent decision on what I want to do. But the way sales is perceived, just like if you say I'm a bathroom cleaner, I'm sure everybody's going to look down on you. but in another part of the world, somebody is going to be so proud on the fact that they keep one of the most important part of our life, keep your sanitation and your hygiene, and it's called dignity of labor. So it's a fact. Some jobs are looked down and some jobs are profiled. It's a part of the Asian culture. There is this whole power distance. If you've studied a bit of culture, you will know it. So I've tried a lot personally. So all my life, I started as a teller in the bank. Then I got into sales. And I recall the discussions I've had with my management to get rid of that word sales, hide it with business development, call myself a business advisor. Finally, I even convinced the bank. This was HSBC, by the way, with all the global rules and regulations, including with a colleague of mine. We convinced them to give us a visiting card with only our name, so we could even act the CEO when we meet our clients. Not say we are the CEO, but we can act the boss. So that they fell for it. They thought it was a very innocent thing. So we go and say, here's my card, and the card it's what you make out of the card, not what the card says, right?
Right,
So,
right.
but when you ask that question, I think we should start. If you are a corporate CEO right now, I think it's not fair to, if you want to take a radical call, you will take this word sales out of that team or not call anybody sales, because see, everybody is in sales. It doesn't even make sense to call somebody a sales team member or a head of sales, because Mr. CEO, you are the head of sales. So then who is HR? From my point of view, I'm very clear there's only sales, after sales, and sales support in a company. Everybody else, they're all part of it. So there's nothing called HR, that's sales support. I'm a marketer, by the way, that's sales support. So everyone's in sales. End of story. Then why do you want to call somebody and say, I'm in sales? Just imagine you have this visiting card and you go out and tell somebody, hi, my name is Yasas. I am in the sales department. What does that really mean? Yeah, we are all in the sales department. I sell iPhones. Okay, I'm in the iPhone business. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to talk to you about iPhone. So I don't know. I think it's high time you might want to take, because it doesn't serve a purpose. The truth is, everybody sells. For me, when I was in the bank, I want my operation teams on a Sunday to bring me leads on Monday. End of story. You are a representative of the bank. You don't have to sell the whole portfolio, but at least meet somebody, talk about the bank, bring us a lead. Yeah, you're head of operations, you're head of that doesn't matter. So in that context, Shob, I think maybe it's time to kill this point on sales or call everybody sales, because that's one point. I don't think we should bark on this whole tree about trying to make sales, which I used to do. So what I honestly did in the bank was I ensured I held sales in my designation till the day I left the bank. So at a point, I was head of branch strategy, and I convinced my HR team to add sales into it. And they would say, what's wrong with you? Because it's not part of, I say, excuse me, it's just a visiting card. Just add sales. Because I was driving a point to everybody that we are all in sales. So that was the role I played, so that everybody understood that sales is not this lower level thing. We'll all walk the streets, we'll all work the phones, we'll all talk to the customer. If I could, I'll talk to everybody, but I can't. That's why you are there. So that was the way I used to walk the talk. But I know that's not a route to go. Maybe my point here is stop calling anybody sales. Everybody's in the business of promoting your company. And if you're not doing that as the tea boy, well, I don't know what job you are in, because there's no job to make tea. There's a job to make tea. So we drink tea and we go out there and bring sales. So we are all in sales. Okay, call us all tea boys then. So this is my, if I run a company today, there won't be a head of sales. We are all heads of sales.
Yes, exactly. It's so true. Very nicely put. the whole team is in, whether you like it or not. I mean, even if you take the personal life as well, right? I mean, if you look at, I mean, any relationship you look at, we gotta sell to each other that okay, that's how we engage with each other and build that relationship as well. Brilliant, very nicely said, ladies. Yes,
just a point
yeah,
on
go
it.
ahead.
Everyone, I mean, when we do a program at Snipex, we call it everyone sells. So it's the role of the organization to give a proper pitch to every single one, because the obvious question on a dinner party or a wedding or a funeral is, hey, where are you working? What do you do? That sounds an innocent question, but that's just that amazing opportunity to pitch your company. Whether you're on day one, you're in induction, you're the CEO, financial controller, and that pitch that you make, yeah, I am in John Keel's and I am part of a company called Cinnamon, and here's what we got happening these days. You got to really bring your team in one of these days. And here's my card. Can I get your card? And anyway, I'll probably get somebody to call you. Anyone can do that. So everybody has to play that role, and that's something, I guess, that sorts this problem out about you are in sales and I'm not. No. You're all in sales. I guess you got that wrong.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow. Very nicely done. Very brilliantly put. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in conversation with the sales master over here, Yasas. If you have any question, please go ahead and ask on the chat box. My next question is, Yasas, what is the biggest fear of a salesperson and how to handle that as a sales expert, or because after talking to you that day, I realized that it's actually making a bigger impact in life. It is just not. Sales is bigger than that. So, what would be the salesperson biggest fear?
I'm not okay. So I've never had that problem per se personally, but when I meet potential sales professionals, when I work with a large number of sales people, either some of them are forced into that job or they are in that job by mistake. Very few people have opted into this role, and if they have already opted, I find a lot of them in the insurance sector, some amazing people. Most of them don't see a problem or a fear per se, because they've already overcome this fear that people have called fear of rejection. And if you look at culturally, the typical culture that we come from in this country is not a culture that promotes risk taking. So children at a very young age are basically taken through a very standard process of education. They are predominantly told to do what everybody else does with regard to even the subjects they choose, the education they do, the sports they do. So basically, we come from a very low risk outlay. So of course, that is a factor that holds you back when you want to pick up a phone and call somebody, or you meet somebody a little senior, or we call them the top end of the market. Some people hesitate, they have fear in reaching out because there's this big gap, or you don't want to take a risk of reaching out because you fear rejection. So we have an inherent problem, which I think is improving. So that's one side of it. But the fear I would have today, if I'm to meet you, I would not say it's a fear, but it's the challenge that I don't know enough about your business as at today. And how far can I get you to open up? I would not say it's a fear, but it's a challenge you have. Because if I'm unable to relate to you in a short period of time, I'm unable to get you to open up and tell me your real business problem. As a result, I might not be able to solve that problem for you. So I guess that's the biggest challenge. From a fear point of view, generally the discussion is about fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown when you go and make a presentation to 100 people or meet somebody. So some of that we can help people overcome. You can do some self-help, self-search, because the truth is, when you realize none of us are masters of the universe, that's the first stage. When you get it in your head, you realize you are just human. So you don't have to prove that you are ultimate to anybody. So that gives you a lot of confidence that you are okay to fail. When you also realize you could always say, I don't know, and that's okay. And then you realize, oh, I can say I don't know, I can find that out for you. It gives you confidence to go in front of somebody. You know what you know, and you're very clear what you don't know. And you also know when you make a mistake, in case you do, you can always say sorry. So when you're equipped with some of those fundamentals, you don't have fear of being judged or rejected. But I truly appreciate when I made my first call to go and meet a very senior person when I'm 21, going by bus, and I walk into a boardroom of a big company where the guy in front of you is like 3 times your age. He's got kids of your age, and your job is to talk financials with somebody who's got billions, and you are trying to figure out bus fare. Well, there is a sense of fear in you, right? And then you realize, okay, you're a billionaire. I know my stuff. I respect you, but we are somewhat equal because I'm an expert in my area and you are an expert in yours. So there's no need to go this begging route or have that type of big gap. You could have a chat with respect, but talk business as equals. So that takes that fear or your little inferiority sometimes that you have. And so a few thoughts that how you could, of course, people have public speaking fear. I mean, these are things that a lot of people have, and there are always great examples, online help, self-help to overcome those. We do a fabulous work at Snipex. You can do it yourself. So, no excuse today. If you ever have a fear of failure, fear of public speaking, fear of rejection, fear of talking or reaching out to people who are a little powerful, if you feel that way, you can overcome all of that.
Brilliant. So, you mentioned about Snipex, right? So, in Snipex, how do you deal? I mean, let's say if somebody, I know there are quite a number of sales programs. If you can share something with the audience, 1 or 2 programs, what you're doing and how it is impacting a person, an individual, because I believe sales is an area you can build a person with through if you train somebody in sales. So in Snipex, what do you do? Then we'll take another 1 question from the audience.
Thanks for that question, Shuvo. So Snipex also stands for being sharp, no nonsense, to the point, real, practical. Sniper. X stands for excellence, execution, all that, right? So I stumbled upon sales as a profession in my first job because I was part of the first sales team that was set up in this market to take HSBC to become the market lead in credit cards. So glad I took that call, but I quickly realized that for a lot of people, sales was just a passing by thing. And I realized it was a competency that I had to build. I also saw it as an opportunity because a lot of people did not invest on professionalism in sales. So I studied sales. I read every book I could come across. And you realize even reading all those books, there's a lot of confusion. There is no clear formula. And I started building my own formulas with my own experience. And of course, I started coaching my own sales teams. And so Snipex brings in the background work that I've already done. And it boils down to fundamental principles. If you want to succeed, there's this simple principle which my father taught, which is universal, is called ask. Attitude, skills, and knowledge. So that's it. So, and when it comes to the skill of selling, it has a skill part, and it has a knowledge part, and it has the attitude part. So that's what Snipex really does. So one program we do, regardless of whatever the level we intervene. Example, we might do a frontline sales program, sales management program, break it down by B2B, B2C. There are so many ways we will structure sales program, all the way to sales leadership alignment, CEO downwards. Some of these CEOs are absolute armchair generals, and they never pick a phone, they never walk the floor, they're never in front of customers. So, and they want uh, people like Yasas or Snipex to get the frontline salespeople to sell. So the bottleneck sometimes is generally always at the top of the bottle. So we need to like decode and unlearn, get that unlearning at the CEO level. So all that happens. But we start with a program called Passion to Perform. It applies to every single one in the company. And we use that to open people up, regardless of where they are, because we try to convince everybody that everyone is in sales. Everyone can contribute a lead. Of course, there will be specialized individuals who will be coded to take certain products to market. So, agree. So from a Passion to Perform, we will most of the time help a company understand sales is not just talking, persuasion, old boy relationships, alcohol and cholesterol experiences with customers. If for most companies, if you bring a sale one way or the other, it's all an end of it. And they are unable to sustain it scientifically. So to get a company to appreciate simple things like how to code a sales pitch, how to set a sales process, a sales dashboard, that a pitch and a presentation and a promotion are three different things, and all of them have to have a system. There has to be data and monitoring. It takes a bit of time. They do that for finance. They do that in the factory, but they don't have systems for sales. They have operations for everything. There's no sales operations. So it's a bit of hard work to get that piece sunk in. Otherwise, for everybody, it's a sales training. Put the team into a room, teach them soft skills, and the soft skills need a structure for it to sustain. Otherwise, it won't. So we spend a lot of time coding the top. So they understand the sales strategy part. And then, of course, we go down to picking the phone and say, hi, how are you? My name is so-and-so. Happy Monday to you, and do that simple sell a call, man. Without that, you are a nicely dressed bride with no wedding to go. Nice perfume, man. But you got to be sitting in front of somebody. To that basic. So it all depends where you are in your sales maturity. So we take you from wherever, and Snipex helps you to build that system in. So, yeah.
Wow, that's brilliant. I mean,
what we do that is, if you have a yellow car, you got to sell the yellow car. We are not in marketing. We don't sell your product program. If you have a bad problem, of the company. But if you have a yellow car, don't beg, don't lie, don't tell. Figure out a way to find a win-win solution that somebody actually sees value in a yellow car. No one to complain. No one to complain.
Brilliant. Right. So it's very real. No? What you see is what you get. Brilliant. So I and it looks like Snipex is covering all the aspects of sales and sales related system, and quite interestingly, what you mentioned. Okay, CEOs, do they require a sales training? I mean, you were mentioning about it, and I just wanted to know on that, because they are CEOs, right? Why do they require to learn sales?
I mean, it depends. So, example, it's how you define sales. So, if you are a high-tech company, a startup, and you're CEO or you're the founder, your game is about coding the next biggest tech solution that the world is going to just download. I guess you better sit down and get that coding going without bugs and figure out to get it off to market. I get it. But then at some point, you'll have to hit an investor, and that's the moment your hoodie has to come off and you got to get off the couch. And a lot of great tech companies fail there. So but still you got to sell. But what I found is most CEOs don't realize, especially if they have a sales team, so-called sales team, and if you want your team to go out there and present your brand, be brand ambassadors, you're selling the company. Every CEO has to show how it's done. You got to show what the pitch is. If you're not sure about it, every top CEO in the world today will have to come on board and do the keynote speech. So I guess after Steve Jobs, and you saw how Mark Zuckerberg used to stutter when he first came on camera. Today, he just rocks it he's a typical uh, back-end coder, right? He's like a tech guy. And today he's shown that he could learn how to sell, and they lead. So there's no question you are the chief sales officer. It's your pitch that has to be leading you're the cheerlead of the company. You got to sell your vision, you got to sell your dream, you got to sell your ideas. I hope you get on the phone and go on a customer visit, and that is going to get the whole team on that rolling into the space of, we are all selling all the time. So I can't think of any reason why you would shy away from that.
Right. And sell the yellow car as a yellow car, nothing else.
Absolutely.
I get that.
But
Brilliant.
no lie.
No lie. Yes.
This is not about selling fridges to Eskimos. That's
Right. Oh. Yes.
all right. Eskimos just don't need a fridge, but he might need to maybe use it as a door, or that fridge could be used as a decoration, or that's where he makes ice cubes. Find a solution for the fridge. No
Right.
telling, no begging, no lying, man. Then I won't be in this space of saying we are all in sales. So that's a big myth.
Brilliant.
That salespeople have to do whatever it takes to get your product out. But that's not sales. That's lying. You'll go to hell for doing that.
Brilliant. I'm loving this. Yasas, thank you very much. I'm loving this conversation. Okay, one question from our audience, Hasini. So she's asking, when hiring, how do we identify sales skills of a team member? Because when we go through the interview, so a certain period of time we're observing that person. And after hiring, you see that, okay, results are different. So how do you do that? How can I have a better approach towards that?
Okay, so I'll give you my personal experience. I've learned it the hard way. We have always been taught look for the traits, achievement orientation, communication, etc. when we look for salespeople. So at interviews, we will look at them. We used to look at sport because sport shows you're competitive. But I probably sat through, 10,000 sales interviews. I don't know, it's a crazy number. I've had a whole lot of salespeople in my life, and I probably made a lot of mistakes also. So, but I've learned very very early. I've learned as a sales manager, the average Sri Lankan kid would not come out clearly ready to do sales, because they have been coded to be exactly opposite of that. Some of them even don't know how to profile themselves or even to face an interview. So I've learned very fast not to judge people in the way they're performing their interview, but I try to figure out many ways to see whether this is a moldable person. So the traditional interviewing techniques just won't work, because we are not born and bred watching Shark Tank and the typical US entrepreneurial stories, and these salespeople don't project it. So you got to look for gold to be dug out. So somebody once said, not somebody once said, Michelangelo once said, when somebody asked him, how did you carve that beautiful sculpture of David? He said, when I took that stone, I saw David in it. What I did was I carved out everything that was not David. And that's how I found. So the best sales people I've recruited are possibly people who were pretty crude earlier. I made a bet that they had something in them. Either it was a family circumstance, they were challenged, they were hungry. Comfort zones, I get away. If your parents have fed you all of your life, you haven't been challenged, if you haven't pushed, if I couldn't find anything in your life that showed me that you had some level of short circuiting, I don't know, at least jumping out of your school or doing something different, that's why I would probably shy away. I won't judge you because you are good in communications or you talk well in your interview, because that won't tell you whether you have the achievement orientation and the drive. And I've had so many instances when you put them into the right ecosystem and coach them through that process, some of them realize that, hey, man, I like this. I think this is for me. And I've seen at all levels people who are senior branch managers who refuse to be proactive when you, after 3 years, 4 years of, keep on working with them, I mean, unstoppable. So look for that hint of any type of hunger, spark inside them, a challenge that they've taken and overcome, and you can work on that attitudinal or value system, because the selling skill part is not difficult to build in somebody.
Great.
So that's my philosophy.
Great. Thank you so much. It was very detailed. And of course, it makes sense what you said. Definitely, we have to focus on those areas, what you mentioned. Now, okay, cold call, right? So a question about cold calls, right? So how to manage a client's expectation on a cold call? Like first time you're meeting and you're very nervous and you're meeting that client for the first time. So a few pointers would be good, Yasas, at this point.
Okay, I don't know how many salespeople are listening to this chat. So if I throw in example, the richest man of this country, let's say Dhammika Pereira's number on the screen, how many will just pick his phone and call him now? So that tells you whether you have a mindset to cold call. Some will think, oh, it's the right time to call. Some will think, okay, can I call Dhammika Pereira? Am I allowed? Should my CEO call him? So cold calling, if you know what it means, it's about calling somebody who don't know you because you got the number and you think that person is a prospect for you. And you're going to pick the call. I mean, if somebody throws in Bill Gates' number right now here, are you going to dial up and call him and, hi, Bill, my name is Yasas. I'm calling from Sri Lanka and I want to have a chat with you because of this reason. There's some people are coded to do that. I could call anyone because I know the worst thing that can happen is they'll slam the phone on me. But that's okay. I tried. But I won't call somebody unless I have no reason, obviously. So it's a different mindset, and we find a lot of people take a long time to appreciate that. But agree, cold calling is the last thing you should do. If you have all the warm leads, if you have all connections that you could go to, if your social media leads have qualified good ones and given you, maybe you don't have to cold call. So cold call means I'm now in front of somebody who doesn't know me. He has no reason to respect me for some good or wrong reason. Maybe he was free today and I'm in front of that person. So in that situation, you are always under pressure because you haven't done enough research to know this person. So it's always a tough space to be. So what we normally do in that situation, we try to profile people, and you always you have to understand it's always a very risky thing. You look at their age, you judge their outlook, you look at their watch, you look at their tan. You know somebody's a runner if they got a tan up their sleeve. If you see Yasas with a short sleeve, you will see a little tan. So you pick he's a cyclist, he's wearing a particular watch or a band like this or a Fitbit, or there's a bicycle in the background. Because you are trying to relate to somebody, people buy from people they like. So that moment of I'm not in this first impression business. It's about how do I relate to somebody, connect to somebody. That's always going to be a challenge. So you might be able to read someone better with experience if you're actually listening from your mind. Uh, but be very careful, these traditional things about looking at the picture on the wall and say, oh, that's a lovely family. And you say, yeah, they all died in the last plane crash. It's a funny space.
Right.
But I used to basically, from the car park at my very early stages, I used to call because the true success is not working with that small network you have, but reaching out to people who don't know you. That is your largest market. So, and when you walk there, you will look at the car park, try to talk to the security guard and ask whose car is that. So if you get to know whose car is that, you're going to see obviously an emblem of a school. You'll see a teddy bear. You'll see something all the way. If you have some time to sit, obviously you will research the company's website. You will see the walls. Talk to the receptionist. So I don't know whether those work anymore, but most things are, people are working from home, and I mean, a lot of people are searchable today. And if you put up on your own community in Sri Lanka, everybody knows someone. So you will know somebody one way or the other. So you can start a conversation and quickly warm up that cold context. Once again, a sale, if you're talking, you're not going to be able to do this. You'll go there and you start vomiting your brochure. So that guy is going to be thrown out in their mind or my mind if that's going to happen. So, but if you're listening, if you're observing, if you're like strategically taking the fact that I need to figure this person out, all right. So when Shuvo walked in, I met you for the first time. So I knew you're not Sri Lanka, but I had to figure it out. Who are you? What's your background? Then you said your wife's from Sri Lanka. Okay, I get it. So I need to connect some dots. I can't. I mean, I can say 9 things, and out of 10, it might just mess up our building a relationship, right? So that's why I said, shut up, listen, watch, observe. This is not for talkers. This is for smart people. So if you're a smart guy, your best cut to be in the front, selling your company, selling your product, doing business, meeting people who are never supposed to work with you, but because you went there, you got that person on board. So well done, man. That's what real business is all about.
Great. Now, by listening to you right now, I am thinking how I was, but I think I hit all the points, so it is okay. But thank you. I mean, I thought that was very valuable what you shared just now. It's so true. It's not about telling; it's about listening. Brilliant. Okay, you said that some of the rejection is one of the biggest fears. If you can share some three tips, let's say 3 tips from Yasas, right? How to handle rejection. Would you like to share it with the audience?
It also depends on, I don't know, if I look at me, I've been coded to handle failure at a very early stage in my life. So there's this little story I always tell. It's also on, if you haven't gone to the Snipex YouTube, you should. We have some nice clips on it. And one of the stories of my life is when my father bought me a bicycle when I was 11 years old. And like every kid, I figured out a way to balance it. So on an evening where I live, I was just riding with barely found New Balance. I want to show my father that I've learned to balance the bicycle, and I fell flat on my face. And the neighbors got excited, but because my father was coming down the lane, they let me be because he was coming and going to help me. So my father walked in, looked at me, and he said, "Okay, come home," and he walked away. So you can imagine, as a kid, you're about to cry, you're hurting. and I was obviously frustrated. I dragged my bicycle and walked all the way home. That night he asked me, "So how are you?" And I said, "Okay, I'm fine now." And he said, "In life you're going to fall, and you got to learn to get up by yourself." So he was an educational planner. He understood education psychology, understood how children learn. So he built an ecosystem on which I learned how to handle rejection. So I can still recall when I was, I went for the primary school prefectship, and nobody was in my family interested. Otherwise, at Royal College, it's a big competition. It's the parents who work the hardest. So I came home and told, Tata, I didn't get selected for the 5-year scholarship. He said, "Oh, that's okay. We have some lovely bananas. You can have one." I said, no, I got selected." He said, "Ah, very good. Have a banana. It's pretty good." So I've been coded psychologically that I am not judged because I fail. I just have to try. So I'm blessed the fact that I came from that foundation. Most kids have been coded to always succeed. You got to get those marks, or you're a failure. So you don't try. You don't try. So that coding is hard to uncode. So I suggest you go and try some karaoke. And then people will laugh at you. Then you'll get used to get laughed. You should try getting rejected. Something we do in very early stages of sales, we give young salespeople a list of names to call. And when you hear the phone bang on you, you realize it's not on you and nothing personal. And so I don't know how you will be coached and how you'll coach yourself. If you ever asked out a girl once, twice on a Friday night, maybe 3-4 times you'll get rejected. Maybe somebody who's desperate will say yes and sit down for a drink with you. So I don't know, man. Try go to McDonald's and ask for a discount. Maybe you might get one. Maybe they'll chase you out. But what I'm just telling you is this whole thing about sorry, I missed the question. Are we on the question, or am I going on?
Yeah. So the question was, if you can share 3 tips how to handle rejection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest fear a salesperson has. Yeah.
Yeah. So some of those things I've said that I've used in and to build, and how we build young people to do that. And also when somebody rejects you, they're possibly rejecting your solution versus they're rejecting you personally. So you learn at some point not to take that personally. Of course, somebody might use harsh language. They might tell you, "What rubbish are you talking about? This is nonsense. Your product won't work, and I've got a better deal, and you guys are talking." I mean, everybody's not going to be polite. Well, that means you haven't lived in real world. That requires to go on the streets and learn how life in real world works. Everybody's not nice. Everybody's not polite. So some of those things you have to figure out by facing life. But more rejection you get, it also gets you a question: how strong were you in your sales process? How well did you understand the client's needs? How far did you diagnose exactly what his real problem was? Were you really telling, or were you selling? Did you see those early warnings that the customer was agitated, or he was busy, or he was trying to go somewhere? Did you pick those? So as time goes on, every rejection, moment you're out of the door after a meeting, you know that you had an issue with some part of your technical piece or some part of your soft side of relating to that person. So then you are not harsh on you. You realize, okay, I could improve on X area, on Y area. Some of us as sales leaders, when we go on visits with our teams, we try to watch these and try to mentor the newer business people to say, "Hey, here's what you think you did right, what you think you did wrong, what you could improve." So some of those mentoring sessions, coaching sessions helps you to realize. So rejection is how you look at it. I mean, every cricketer knows however much you practice, you still get out for the same ball. And Then you go tomorrow morning and you play the same game of cricket. So
Right.
it's what make. I mean, if you win everything,
Yes.
then it's to be outsourced, and it's so easy. So what's the point? You're not required, right? So
Exactly.
the fact that it's hard, there's rejection, there are difficult customers, complex business issues that sometimes you are unable to solve. That's why you and I still have a role. Otherwise, artificial intelligence and some software solutions will replace all of us. So
Right.
rejection
Okay. Got it.
is your fault.
Great. So embrace the rejection, so that will be easier. And they are not rejecting you, rejecting your product, basically. Yeah. So okay, we're almost at the end. Okay, we have to ask this question. It's a very obvious question, right? Yasas, why cycling? What's the story behind it? Why cycling? What's the story behind it? How did this came about? And I remember last time when I met you, you were mentioning that Nuarelia in 6 hours in cycle. Then I asked you how, and you gave
8
the
hours.
answer. I want you to share that with the audience, please. So why cycling, and yeah, why cycling? What was the thought process behind it, and how to get to Nuarelia in 8 hours in cycle?
So you can see a bicycle behind me. How to get to Noor in 8 hours is take your bicycle and ride. So if you do that, at some point you will get to Noor. Now, just like in a sale, if I want to sell something to someone, I will start working on that account. You might not achieve it today, but it's a matter of time. And someday you're going to get there. So the reason why we don't try these things is because we have this profiling. Okay, I am unable to do it. Well, I'm not fit. This is not for me. I mean, if you really want, you can push your bicycle all the way to Noor. You can walk to Noor. You don't have to walk as fast as Yasas does or try to beat Yas. I mean, I just rode a bicycle. If I couldn't, I had the risk of being called a failure. And when I realized, well, I don't care because I am doing this at my own pace and my own dream. So that's how simple to ride a bicycle to wherever you want. But if you write down the, oh my God, I'm this, I'm that, this is not for me. So that's this biggest point. You're judging, we judge ourselves vis-a-vis somebody else, and we don't embark on anything that we feel that we are not good at. So that's the secret of cycling. Right from here, I've cycled to Jaffna. And not only me, obviously, I convinced 20 more people to do that with me because I'm a salesman. And of course, those guys are also pretty achievement doing crazy guys. So why cycling? At a point in my corporate life, we all come to a point that you realize, okay, I think I've got to this point in the corporate life. If I do this for another 10 years, I'll be doing the same thing over and over again. So I was searching for answers, and I just borrowed a friend's. I've looked at buying a motorcycle, and a friend said, "My God, Yasas, you don't know what that means." So I said, "Okay." I listened to that idea. I said, "Yeah, I don't think that's for me." So I was just searching because it's just maybe it's Maslow. At a point, you need to take a call. So then I got onto a bicycle of a friend who had it in his house where he was hanging clothes. I borrowed it and rode it. And I said, oh, wow. I started loving it because as a kid, I lived on a bicycle. And then I fell in love with that. And by that time, I also realized that if we drive the way we drive, live the way we live, I don't think we'll have a place our kids, our families, you and I could breathe on this planet. So I was getting pretty concerned about my own carbon footprint. I was involved in some projects to promote sustainability. And I thought, here you go. I will ride a bicycle to work. So it's a simple thing that I started. And of course, I am a marketer. If I get into something, I will think my marketing brain works, my sales brain works. And I'm also somebody who's achievement driven. So when you put all three together, I surely would not have cycled around Vyarama Devi Park and left it at that. I saw a bicycle as a vehicle that was solving some problems in my life, and I thought that could be a vehicle I could use to take a message out. And I clearly used my marketing, my selling skills, and I started promoting cycling as also it helped me build my own brand because I understand how to build an identity. I teach that. I'm a marketer. I teach how to build brands and build businesses. So I understand symbolism. And I clearly saw there was no one in the corporate world around me who used a hobby of this nature. So I would say it was not only the passion, but I also saw the opportunity to achieve what I wanted to achieve. And obviously, it was connected to passion as well. And yeah, so I use a bicycle to communicate sustainability, fitness, getting out with your families, including helping me to build a brand. That's what makes my story authentic because I come from achievement world because I don't climb balance sheets anymore. I climb mountains and I ride. So if I'm not in performance, I can't be in the subject of performance. So it helps me, but the truth is, it's changed my life. So I truly believe a bicycle could change the world as we look to come back to simplicity. Everybody realizes we are back at home. We are cutting down our fast fashion. We are cutting down all unnecessary spending. We realize starting a car for no reason doesn't have to be. Everybody is finally coming to a bicycle, so I'm ready. And we as cyclists will work towards hoping to get one by one car out of the road. So, yeah, that,
So, but you did a wonderful job. I mean, definitely. I mean, this has a different impact in the society. It is being, and you have been around Sri Lanka how many times? With cycle. Actually, last week before, we had Sarinda in our audience as well as a guest. So he was sharing his idea of cycling. How did it start and everything? I mean, I know he's a part of this team as well. So definitely, when you get your achievement mindset, marketing mindset, identity mindset, and when you want to make an impact, these three combination is really effective. Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that. One question from Nipuna from the audience. He's asking, as a salesperson, how to create a need in some entertain market and sell our brand or a product. What's the mechanism behind it? So that's what he's asking.
yeah. So, if I take a classic example, in 1998, this country did not have a credit card market. Sri Lankans were used to save and spend. Uh, for this, we will all go to hell as bankers. We were the first to went and sold the idea that you can spend now and pay later. And we put about 30 billion rupees worth of Sri Lankans good money into debt. And then we gave another couple of billion of personal loans for people who couldn't pay that. So yes, you could sell ideas, but the truth is, of course, most people used it to achieve their dreams, go on that dream holiday that they would have never had, buy something they would have never been able to save and buy. So there's a good side to it. So when you say how do you create a market, well, there's a bit of marketing in it to how do you create a market. 2010, when I was cycling to work in Colombo, and when I was involved in organizing 100-kilometer rides, this was like alien. Everybody thought that was, oh my God. Last week, we had another group of people who just took their bikes and rode to Kadugannava, Kandy. When I did that first time, I was like, oh my God. So, market development needs a genuine effort where you need to believe in that market and you need to start believing and build that market. So that's something I've done for cycling. And I never thought the Ironman type of big event that we will be bringing to the country. But all what we've done over 10 years to build that market is what brought a franchise like Ironman and brought what $3.5 million of foreign exchange revenue to this country in 1 month, 1 week. And then you saw how, when we build that market, brands like Decathlon just came in and started raking the benefits of that market. I believe a Sri Lankan entrepreneur could have easily figured out to take a piece of what we built, but unfortunately we are small thinkers, and here is another multinational coming and benefiting from it. I have no issue with them, but these are what Sri Lankans haven't understood, the need to build market. So if you are serious about building a market, it's going to take time, but hopefully you also have a cash cow that helps you to sustain, because until you build that market, you need to be able to sustain your business, pay people salaries, because market development takes time. So you saw Rosel doing it, the ceramics guys, Damika Pereira. He continuously stuck from his inception to top quality tiles. And that market was non-existent. But Sri Lanka, as the per capita income grew, nicely came, and Rosel dominates today. So when you say market development, it's not going and putting a little cocktail out and hoping things happen. The real market development, you got to commit yourself to build that market. And if you build that market, you'll probably own that market for some time, because you have been part of building that market. But for that, you got to study the market, walk the streets, hit the grounds, master it, become it. Let's say you want to build, I have a nice Sinhalese video called Amba. It's called the Mango video. It went a little bit viral. And there I talk about, if you want to go to Dambulla and build a mango market, stop eating mangoes, start studying mangoes. Average guy in the Dambulla market who's selling products has no clue of the mango market. They don't know the size of the market, type of mango. They don't know the manuring process, the harvesting process. They don't know the manufacturing process, processing process. What does Australia do? What does India does? I mean, so you have no idea of the market. What are you talking, man? You're just having a brochure. So there's a lot of room. If you study a particular market, I'll tell you, cinnamon market. This country is only scraping the surface of our beautiful cinnamon, while Coca-Cola uses cinnamon. That probably Sri Lankan cinnamon processed in maybe Mexico 2,000 times margin compared to what we pack. But if you are to build that market, you got to work damn hard to build that market. So while you talk about the topic of market development, for me to build a cycling market in this country for so many people to benefit. Today, some of the people who's worked with me has gone and started their own things. So many bicycle shops have benefited from the market that I was involved. Obviously, not only me, there were so many others who were part of this, but we were the market builders. And the way we build the market, India launched their first triathlon, and it helped them bring a triathlon to Goa. So we built the market for the Indian Ocean, not India. So, but if we continue Sri Lankan triathlon, those Indians would come to Sri Lanka, and we would have be benefited in that whole thing. So when you use the word market development, pick a market, study the market, live the market, breathe that market, and go and build that market. Well, that's my approach. Then I'll tell you, you might not need to sell, because the market will come to you. If that's your question,
Brilliant.
I don't know. Yeah, that's my answer.
Brilliant. I thought that it was very nicely addressed. Okay, I have another question. It's a great conversation, Yasas. I'm just going to take a bit of time. So Inosh Praveen. So he's with Readme.lk. He's the co-founder of that. He was in our program last week. So he's saying that great conversation here. So he's asking, how much of a role does charisma play for a great salesman? Is that skill can be learned? Charisma.
Yeah. So when we code fundamentally sales teams, we look at few tools. One is your pitch. That means you could pitch we call it elevator pitch. So you meet somebody in an elevator, you meet somebody in a cocktail, you got 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you pitch. Yes, a bit of charisma, we call it that energy, passion. It matters because if you're enthusiastic about your product, what you sell, your company, it's contagious and it helps. But if you continue like that for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, people will think you've got a mental problem and they will walk away because you are like, if you become difficult to deal with because you've got so much energy around you, people start running away. So in your short sales pitch, charisma matters. If you are doing a presentation for 1,000 people, a keynote speech, your charisma matters. But if you're on a big B2B discussion of $1 million software solution or a business solution or an ERP, or you're selling a technical product, honestly, leave your charisma at the doorstep. Go there as a listener, as a consultant to listen. We are looking for insight, intellect, rather than a charisma at that moment, because the problems you're trying to solve are very complex. For example, when I used to sit on the other side of the bank, when software companies come in, some of these guys are like flown all the way from generally India, with all due respect, trying to sell software. They're all dressed up. Oh God, in the first 10 minutes, you lose it. Not only from India, from anywhere. We are looking for people who are ready to listen. At that time, I remember NDB had 23 systems. Half of them don't talk to each other. We ourselves could figure out what to do. When we run our month end on the 31st, I asked the head of branches, strategy, whatever I used to call myself, I'm not sure whether my branches will be ready to run on Monday morning. I mean, you keep your fingers crossed the damn thing doesn't crash. So you come with charisma. We'll be on our Blackberries those days before you say good morning and the tea comes on the table. So leave that charisma out. It doesn't really serve anything. We are looking for insight, man. We want you to understand our problems. We want you to be ready to listen. We want you to be authentic. So if you are defining charisma as this on the sleeve charisma, maybe at a cocktail, maybe at a pitch, maybe at a investor forum, when you're on your, but when you go one-to-one, we call it not the pitch, not the presentation, but the sales process. Well, then you got to park that charisma and get to the more real deal, real discussion. So it's not hard and fast. So honestly, people who are real listeners tend to cut the cloth better now, because we are more or less value-based sales or insight sales than more than this go out there and blast it all over with your charisma. It may be, yeah, I'm not a big fan of that anymore, because the role of the salesperson is more articulate. I mean, he's analytical, strategic thinker, problem solver. But there'll be time that you got to really, when you know the solution, and if somebody is not believing in it, you might try the charisma button a little bit so that you can get your heart and soul out and you believe it, and somebody would probably buy you. Maybe that's when that little competency works. But don't carry it all around. You will be unfriended soon for too much charisma. So, Inosh, I don't know whether I did justice to that question. My view.
Hello?
Hi,
Can
hello.
you hear me, Yasas?
I can hear you.
No, you did. No, you definitely did, and definitely. I mean, when it's required, it's not being charismatic all the time, but when it's required, but it has to be. Sales is. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days. I give up, iron fist handshake.
Hello.
I mean, some
Can
people
you hear
will
me?
run if you do that.
Hello? Yeah. So, yeah. Right. Got it. Great. So, so I believe we are almost at the end. I thought it was very nicely answered. Okay, there's one question from Hanif. I thought it was a very practical, timely question. So he's saying that these days most of the rejection you get is they're saying people are saying that okay, companies are saying that no budget. So how can we react in this situation like that? How to manage the situation?
uh, no budget, or this is generally that price excuse, was there even before COVID. It's a nice way of telling you to fly a kite. It's a nice way to say that we don't like you. It's a nice way to say that you don't know your stuff. It's a polite way to say you wasted my time. That's how I will take it. If a company is doing business right now, if they're using your product or a substitute, then there's something wrong with you, or they don't like you, or somebody is doing a better job. So the reason why most of the time we say we have no budget is because the person in front of you are unable to find your real problem. So that's the truth. And the real truth is, just because you met Yasas today and you had a nice perfume and you talk nicely, I am not going to tell you my real problems on my first meeting with you. And that's the truth. So if you find my real problem and if you can find a real solution, there's almost no reason why somebody says, I have no budget, because you are solving a problem. So it's a simple tip. If you are trying to talk to a businessman today, you have to either tell him, Mr. So and so, I am here to meet you for few reasons. I have possibly something I can give you in the line of X business, which can either help you increase your income or it can help you reduce your cost. If that's what you're here to do, there's no chance in hell anybody says no to you. But you better be sure that you can do that. If you can't, you are just talking, man. That's the
Right.
truth. But you are unable to reduce my cost unless you know my P&L,
Right.
unless you know my income and expenses. But the real truth is, I won't trust you to tell the real truth that I have this problem. Until I tell you my real problem, you as a doctor can't give me the right injection. So whose fault is this? The doctor's fault. Inability to find the real problem. So go back and think, Anif, what can I do to find the real problems of my customers? Not their stated problem, but their actual problem. So the day you find that his actual problem should be he's got extramarital affair for which he's spending extra money. As a result, he has no budget. So until you know that, you are unable to get the deal done, or he's drinking his income out. So you are trying to sell product features and blah blah. His real budget problem is not you. So who is going to tell you this problem? So it might take a day, a week, a lifetime to figure out this guy's real problem. The day you learn that, you might be able to fix it. The truth is, if you can fix his wife's problem, he might really buy your actual product. So you get it? So remember, when you meet a customer, you can anticipate their problems. You can study the industry problem. That's why I always say, study the company, study the industry, so you can at least figure out. If you are meeting a petrol shed, if you don't know the GP margin of a petrol shed is 2%. The exact wine store which sell alcohol next door, they make a 10 to 15% margin. How can you sell? What are you selling? This is the problem I have with salespeople. They don't know the customer's business, and they're out there telling, and the customer says no money. Yeah, our job is to figure out him how to find money from his income expenses so he can afford your product. Using your product, he can only do two things: increase income, reduce cost,
Reduce cost.
make his life convenient. Fourth is reduce his business risk. Fifth, if he's a B2C guy, makes him look good, feel good in society. That's the more emotional peace of mind. So if you are not solving any of those problems, yeah, I'll say sorry, Machan. No budgets.
Yeah.
It's in another way saying, you know what? You're not the guy. You wasted my time.
Right. Wow. Brilliant. You definitely not wasted our time. Yasas, that was brilliant. Very nice, spot on. And we are getting some feedback from our audiences. Inoshi saying, absolutely spot on, Yasas. And thank you for the elaboration, sorry. And then, okay. Shoaib Ali is saying, this is awesome. Mudita is saying, awesome explanation. So we are loving it. Thank you so much. My last question to you. Salesman. Okay, before that, can I ask you one more question and then we go to that, right? I remember when I met you last week or week before, you mentioned about different E's, right?
Yeah.
Can you please share it with the audience that what is this E is about? Different 2-3 different kind of. So I want to the audience to know about it. I thought that was very valuable. Different parts of.
All right. So
of ways of approaching life.
Right. So I started as a teller in the bank. In the very first year of my job, I met a friend who was from my same school. We were the two tellers in that bank. We both went and worked at HSBC Palawat. We came to work by bus. We went by bus. And we both had big dreams. And we wanted to get rich or die trying. Because we work for a multinational bank, we felt multinational. We lived that thing that we work for HSBC, and we both decided some way we are going to retire at the age of 40. So all our career in our banking life, we had this thing about retiring at 40, and we both want to be CEOs of the bank. Now fast forward, I left at 37. My colleague left at 38. His name is Irshad Ali. He's my other brother. He didn't study a single thing in his life from a education qualification. I'm sure he's a billionaire now. And he's pretty rich. He drinks. He enjoys his drink. He can tell your name, birthday, and your last 3 cars, registration number by heart. I, of course, built a study center. 2 different routes. We both went to where we wanted. Both of us couldn't become CEO because we had to save for 10 more years. He became DGM XY and he said, I did whatever, we retired. So in this process of finding success in the corporate world, learning how to get promoted, because we realized in the corporate world, we earned a lot of money in the front line as salespeople. At 19, I was earning 100,000 rupees and we were busting it down wherever possible. But then we get promoted. You learn to get promoted every year if you can, because that's the only way you get your earnings. So E for earnings. So we were motivated by earnings at that time, and that's a good thing to be motivated to make some money. If you don't like it, spend it. If you don't still want to do it, give it as charity. But you got to earn. That's how the GDP of a country goes. So the only way to get your earnings is either through employment and going up the employment ladder, and another E is entrepreneurship. So I've achieved both. I've got in my own way, close as possible to the top of the corporate world, left it, and started my own entrepreneurial journey, small business. I will not be a big business. That's a decision I've taken. So the two E's that drives your earnings are those two. There's another E. You do all of this not only for earnings, but for your ego. Makes you feel good, look good. Nothing wrong with that. Some of you will want to achieve that in life. Some point you will want to get rid of that and achieve another E I call it enlightenment. You go and achieve spiritual enlightenment, maybe leave everything and ride bicycles. So this is that echelon of the E formula. But then how do you get to that? A lot of people invest in something they call education, and I consider that to be a misnomer, Sri Lankan point of view, and somebody who been in education for 15 years. I run a marketing institute for the last number of years. For a lot of people, education is qualification, and that's the start and end of the problem of this country, where we basically mess up our talent through pieces of paper. But education is what we are having right now. I wish I can learn from all of you on another day, and education is continuous. So if you invest in education, if you invest in the right experience and right exposure right now, what COVID is giving us is exposure of a century. Your parents haven't seen it. Maybe your kids will never see this. This 6 months of our life will code us to build things, do things that we've never done before. So when you put education, experience, and exposure together, it builds expertise. And Sri Lanka is totally not focused on expertise. What are you good at? You're an artist, you're a singer, I'm a cyclist. If I show my library on cycling, you will see how much I've invested. I've learned, I've studied, I'm qualified, I'm a biomechanical certified person on cycling. So you got to build your expertise if you want to become someone or something to drive that entrepreneurship and drive that employment. So many people who lost jobs called me, Yasas, what do I do? I asked a simple question. What are you good at? And they say, I'm good at management. I said, what does that really mean? What are you going to manage, man? Most people lack that expertise. I said, can you edit videos? I can find a job. Can you sell? There is a job. Can you paint? I have a house to paint. What are you good at? So, can you code? There's jobs for specifics. But if you are little bits and pieces of everything, and by luck, because the CEO died, or they promote anybody after 5 years because that's HR policy, that's how you got to where you were in most cases. With your nonsense MBA, Master of Business, excuse me, ma'am, that nonsense won't work. You have to be an expert in something. In other words, you should be good at least one blue collar thing. Cook, bake, sing, draw, code, write, sell. That's your expertise. Okay, you are a strategist. Well, that's very few people. You're a brilliant manager. You better be really good at that. So when you have the 3 E's, it helps you. I also have a few more E's. Energy, that's what cycling brings to me. You get up in the morning, do your exercise, ability to energize people, and obviously to hang on, endurance. So I have this E formula, and when I mentor young people in their careers, I try to help them in these E's and take some hard decisions and not go just add on qualifications, but focus on expertise. What will not go waste? Your ability to sell. What will not go waste? Your ability to write copy in a Facebook ad or on an email or on a business proposal. So those general skills will always be handy. So that's little bit of a quick feel on earnings, employment, entrepreneurship. How do you code it through a formula rather than going all over? So I picked sales in banking. without becoming a branch manager, assistant branch manager, regional manager, or anyone. I headed branches because I built sales expertise for 15 years in an industry no one wanted to be in sales. Everybody wanted to get out of sales. I said, okay, this is an easy match. I'll be in sales and I will be calling myself a salesman in spite of everything my title says. And look here, today, 2020, Shob is talking to me about sales. Not a bad place to be. Hopefully, we'll get a couple of leads for Snipex from it, and it'll pay my bills and let me ride a bicycle. That's what expertise does. Converts to
That
earnings.
was enlightening. Thank you so much for sharing. And I just shared the Snipex YouTube channel on the chat. So I encourage all of you go and visit the YouTube their channel, and they have and yeah, there is so much of value in that channel. Yasas has put in. This is just a snippets of it. What you're getting, what you're seeing. Okay, Yasas. Okay, this is the last question. Salespeople, like salesman or a woman, they're born or made?
I think we are all born to sell. From the moment we learn to cry and ask for milk as kids, as infants, from the point you wanted to persuade your parents to help you watch a bit of extra television or not eat something, we are inherently coded to persuade, influence, but that's a more inherent, natural competency we have inside us, so that we as a species will not die of hunger, or is able to get something done uh, in society. But then, of course, I guess we all shy away from some of that education system, as I said, the family background, home, all of that. So I believe we are all born to get a message out, but to carve it out to be a competency to stand up in front of the world and make a Steve Jobs type of keynote speech and sell a iPod to the world that thought Sony Walkman was the answer, well, that requires a serious amount of development, practice, science, and art. So just like any sport, you have to practice that. So there's no question. You can be built to do that, but then there'll be still somebody who's coded to sit down, back office, do some amazing work on project management, ensure every single prop works, the mic works, the light works, for Steve Jobs to go out and put that beautiful sales presentation. And even that guy would require to have a bit of selling skills to get some of the people to work on behalf of them to get those supplies, sounds, lights, all that work. So everyone could be built if you code them right, train them right, and if they can be supported with the right skill set, and if they have a bit of commitment, and if they see that as a key part that could help them sell their house, sell their car, sell an idea to their children. Every mother needs this. Basic being persuasion, selling skills, negotiation skills are fundamental for every parent. So when they realize it, everybody can be built to become that. But the real maestros of sales who can go out there and convince large audiences, nations, sell those election campaigns to multi-million people, well, that requires inherent, I don't know what the right word to call, DNA. But I still refuse to believe the spark inside you can bring you there. And with the right coaching, mentoring, anyone can become that person. But don't misunderstand, the one-to-one chat you're going to have with your kid tonight about eating that extra piece of vegetable requires selling skills. And that could be learned and that could be taught to any mother. So most mothers don't even tell, they yell. And it's a disaster. I wish I could do a session for all moms. It's such an easy thing to get those kids to eat those vegetables. It's just moms don't go to sales school. So, but they anyway get it done. Right? They have a lot of power.
Right. So yeah, if you want, we can organize one for the mothers. Yes, sure, why not?
So salesmanship is for everyone. I hope you appreciate that. Starting from mom at home, please stop yelling. Take some online help on how to sell. Your kids will do a lot more well. They'll perform better if you can learn to sell an idea than just yell and just keep nagging. And every CEO, every manager, every entrepreneur, if you learn the subject of sales, invest in learning it professionally, at least by reading a book. You are going to do wonders in your career, in your life, in whatever you do. So that's it on that point.
Great. Thank you so much, Yasas. And of course, the salesmen are built, and the best place in Sri Lanka to build yourself, if you're thinking of investing on yourself, to build yourself as a salesperson, there's only one place and only one man who can do it, and that is Snipex Sales Academy, which is managed, co-founded by our very own Yasas. Yasas, thank you so much. Can I share with you something?
Sure.
So we have been doing this since March. We have started this. This was the longest conversation where I have ever had with any of the guests, and I really appreciate. And it was so real. Thank you so much for being so real and then bringing that real. YOLO Volkswagen, we should sell it as a YOLO Volkswagen. I love that one. That's the biggest takeaway from myself here. And thank you so much. Appreciate your time. And I know we just had one meeting, and you agreed to come to our show and be a part of it. And your contribution has been immense. Thank you so much. By listening to you, I'm sure the audience have gathered a lot of value. Yes, you want to mention something?
One last thing.
Yes.
Only way we can build our country brand is if all of us are clear about our pitch for Sri Lanka. So don't expect a campaign from Sri Lanka Tourism to build the country brand. Remember, you did 2 sales pitches when you were at school. Myself, my country. You need that all your life, and you got to do it all the time. But if you don't practice it, you will do injustice to yourself and you'll do injustice to your country. So I hope if you don't sell anything for anyone, but please sell yourself. And Sri Lanka badly needs every one of us to profile us and sell on a daily, hourly basis. So I hope you take that note. And that's what we need in our country, because we are at a pivotal moment. COVID is certain, and looks like political stability is finally certain. So stop giving excuses, Sri Lanka. You got to get whatever the product you have, go out and sell it until you figure out how do you fix other problems. So this is the time. We've asked for it. We've got it. Now we got to deliver it. So it's in our hands. It's not in the hands of the politicians. So sell yourself, sell your country.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And that's a very powerful message, what you have shared with the audience. Thank you. Because as a brand ambassador of course, I am from Bangladesh, but living here for last 15 years in Sri Lanka, I always believe, even though I'm from Bangladesh, my heart belongs to Sri Lanka. Whereas when you live in a country for 15 years, it tends to grow on you, and we have so much of cultural similarities and cultural togetherness. It has been an amazing journey. So you're correctly said it. So we gotta be our brand ambassador of our own country. So yeah. So with that, thank you so much for your time and appreciate. And so and there are some participants wanted your contact number. Probably will, with your permission, I can share it with them. And if you want to find Yasas, please go and visit his facility, Daffodils, in right beside you. When you go and meet him, you come in a car and he will come in a bicycle and park his bicycle in the car, in the classroom, sit down and talk to you. So that's how real Yasas is. So with that, Yasas, thank you so much. And audience, thank you for being with us. It has been an amazing interview, amazing conversation. I simply loved it. And we will see you next week. We are having another new guest next week at 7:30 Wednesday. So with that, appreciate your and you enjoy the week ahead. Thank you, Yasas, and thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Shuvo. All the best to success, Zonta. Cheers to you too. See you soon.
Thank you.